My name is Jack Dearborn, Chairman of the Ware Zoning Board of Adjustment. This is the February 1st, 2021, 7:30 PM public hearing. And this evening, we have three cases which the
Middle one.
has been requested to be continued. So we only have two cases tonight. First case we'll be hearing is case number 02-2022, and is Abershon Realty Company, comma, Inc. owner, Dollar General applicant. It's located at 455 South Stark Highway, tax map 412, lot 248, commercial zone. Variance Article 34, Section 3410.3.2, seeking a variance size of sign and number of signs. And the second one we're going to hear tonight is case number 04-
2. Typo. Yeah.
we flashed ahead a decade. No, 100 decades.
100 decades. Sorry.
It's case 2022. It's Donald and Tenley Welsh owner, Jacques Belanger, applicant, 150 Branch Road, tax map 106, lot 19, residential zone. And it's requesting an equitable waiver to section Article 3, section 3.5.1. Okay. Before I start, we have 5 members this evening, and I'm going to ask that these people be seated for both cases. Would you introduce yourself?
Mark Moretti, member.
Jerry Shelto, alternate.
Michael Meyer, member.
Malcolm Wright, member.
Thank you. Okay, just a little house cleaning before we start. What we do is, we hear each case sequentially. We heard the first case, and we will attempt to bring it to conclusion tonight, meaning that if not, it can't be acted on for some reason, we will continue it or whatever. Or if not, we'll try to do it yes or no with conditions, each case. So this evening, the first thing we will do is take the first case. I will ask the board if there's a motion to accept the application. Purpose of this is to make sure that we have a properly filled out application, because it's very easy to overturn a case should it get challenged in court if it's deemed a defective application. So we're very particular in making sure we meet that criteria. And should we go through the process of the hearing, even though we voted yes to accept the application, should we find something missing, we will, at that point, debate whether we should continue and what action should we take. But this is basically to make sure that we start the meeting with the best intentions of having a properly filled out application. Once we have an accepted, motion being accepted, I will then briefly read what we're hearing the case for specifically, and then I will ask the applicant to come forward, and all discussions have to be done at the podium. Purpose of that is for our record keeping and also for YouTube. Want to make sure that a person that does the minutes can hear people clearly. So these microphones do nothing inside this room. They're here literally to record the meeting. So with that said, ask the applicant, in the case of an application for variance, I'll ask them to read each one of the 5 points of the hardship question and give the answer, move to the next one. The reason is, not everybody in the room or at home watching knows what the information that we have here, so we want to give everybody the opportunity to hear the question and what the answer is. Once we do all 5 points, I will ask the applicant to please sit down, at which point I'll ask, are there any approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards? So everybody gets a chance to hear it. Once that's completed, I will ask if the applicant wishes to rebut anything or add anything additionally. And after that's done, I will ask if there's any approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards. Once we go through it twice, everybody get 2 shots at it. Once we do that, I will close down the public hearing. At this point, the board will deliberate each case before we go on to the next one. So with that, for case number 2022, I have a motion.
Move to accept case 02-2022.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
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 Malcolm?
Aye.
And Jack, aye. So, with that said, please come forward.
Good evening, my name is Carolyn Parker. I'm here representing Audubon Realty and Dollar General.
Now, let me just, if you may give me a second, I missed this. This is 002-2022, application for variance, property at 455 South Stark, map 412, lot 248, acreage 5.85, commercial zone. The applicant is Carolyn Parker, representing Dollar General et al. As 3 Lauren Ave, Worcester, Mass. 01606. And the name of the owner is Aubuchon Realty Company, Inc., 73 Junction Square Drive, Concord, Massachusetts. And let me just go through the application. There is a letter signed by Carolyn. There's a description. There is the 5 points of hardship, which have been filled out and signed. There's an abutters list. There's a warranty deed. There are detailed drawings on the sign, a view of the sign in comparison to a person. That's it. Thank you. Now you go.
Okay. So basically, your bylaws state that you're allowed 32 square feet, 64 square feet counting both sides of the sign. So we already have a permit to install an 8x4 freestanding sign, set back the proper amount, you know, per the DOT and everything like that. We have a letter stating that. So we got that permit in hand. So now we have a over 10,000 square foot building. The way the doors are, they're at an angle to the property. When I came last month, we were at that time proposing 2 wall signs. We have since revised the application, so that we're only asking for 1 wall sign, and that wall sign will be facing the parking lot near the entrance to let people know how to get into the
So the
building.
north side,
Yes.
the east side is Route 114, right?
Right, so we were proposing one on that side, which there's no sidewalk, it really wasn't needed, so you have the freestanding sign. So after discussion, we eliminated that 1 sign, so now we're only asking for, I'm not sure how you count your square footage, if you box it, or if you just count letters. So we're either asking for an additional 28 square feet or 15.59.
So basically, you're asking for the design that you have showed us.
Yes.
Okay.
And my other one, when I was looking at it, I was like, something's wrong. So this, if you look at the elevation, the sign they had before was way too big and not the size that we were proposing. So I had them fix that elevation. So if you notice, it's not this huge sign on the side of the building anymore.
So, this slide that we have in here, just so I'm correct. Oh, where it went to. So is this sign what you're asking for?
Yes,
One.
yes,
Before it was two, correct?
correct.
Mr. Chairman, can the public see these documents?
You can give the document if you want. The answer is yes. I was gonna ask people to come up and look at this when we get into the case.
So as I mentioned, the building elevation, when I was revising my application, I was like, something's wrong, that sign's not correct. So it was shown much bigger than what we're proposing. So that's been modified. So, with that being said, do you want me to read my,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure if anybody from the board, I like, before we start, make sure everybody has a clear understanding what we're here for, so we don't get halfway through it and we start having questions
anybody have any questions?
from the board.
So I'm clear, it's just one sign
One sign.
at slightly larger than the town
Allows.
allows.
Town allows one sign,
I understand.
64 square feet. So when you have to count both sides of a freestanding sign, you're pretty much taking up. If I only had to count one side, I could put this sign up, well, I'd still need a quantity, so
Well, quantity and the
Right.
total number. You got
And then-
96
and then
square
the-
feet.
The exact location of it?
it's on this. Right there. So the
Okay.
doorways are there, and this is the parking, so
Sure.
it's just theirs to, you know, get the people
I
to.
understand. Yep.
Yes, if you would start on,
See, a lot of times you have a building and the doors are in the front, right in the middle, so you go, hey, there's the door. This one, it's a little odd, so. So, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the Dollar General retail store will be new to the community, and the total number of signs, 2, and the square footage of 92.02 will help potential customers safely locate the store through the pylon sign, pull in off of South Stark Highway, and then locate the entrance of the building, the wall sign, from the parking lot.
okay, number 2, please.
Please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed. If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the number of signs, 1, and the total square footage of 64 feet allowed per the zoning ordinance are not enough to properly advertise a retail store of the size proposed, which is 10,500 square feet. The site is located in a commercial zone, and the additional square footage would not be out of place in this area, as we are surrounded by a Dunkin' Donuts, which has 2 signs and a menu board, I'm gonna say this wrong, Lance Tots Center Strip Mall, a large pylon sign, and Sano Auto Parts, they have a pylon and a wall sign, which have larger than allowed signage. The safety of the public is improved by the additional sign and square footage. Please describe how substantial justice is done. Substantial justice is done because a business of this size would normally have a pylon sign and at least one wall sign. As mentioned, it is the location of the building and the entrance on the lot that require the one new wall sign. The wall signs direct the customers to the entrance to the store from the parking lot. Dollar General is bringing business and employment to the community. The commercial location means people could be traveling far distances to get to the new store and would need the proper signs for visibility and to safely locate the property and enter an entrance once in the parking lot. There will be no harm to the public if approved.
Is that if approved?
It should be,
It is.
wouldn't it make sense, right?
Just one issue.
Yeah, sorry.
4,
Please describe how the values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. The granting of the variance will not change the values of the surrounding properties, as we are located in a commercial zone, and the surrounding properties, all commercial, have increased signs and square footage at their properties.
number 5A, please.
Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance, and a variance is therefore necessary. The use of the parcel as a 10,500 square foot Dollar General store within a commercial zone requires the variance for additional site signage and number of signs. The location of the entrance requires a sign to let the customers locate the entrance to the building. It's getting hot under here.
Aye.
Sorry. Owing to special conditions, please indicate how no clear and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. As described above, the overall size of the building and property make it hard for the Dollar General to get by with just one sign at the entrance. The building frontage at the parking lot is approximately 1,348 square feet. The proposed sign will only be 2% of the building frontage. The granted of the requested variance poses no adverse impact to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community and general character of the neighborhood.
Aye, aye, please.
Owing to special conditions, please indicate how the proposed use is a reasonable one. As mentioned, the size of the building on the property, 10,500 square feet, make the reason for the one additional wall sign a reasonable one. The location of the building on the property and the location of the door's entrance being installed at an angle, the additional wall sign will show the customers where to enter the building.
Okay, board have any questions of the applicant before I ask her to sit down? Please have a seat. Okay, at this point, I'd like to ask if there's any approving abutters who wish to speak on the request. Disapproving abutters wish to speak on the request. Public at large, other boards. Neil? State your name, Neil.
Thank you, Jack. My name is Neil Kirk. I live on Mount Dearborn Road. I don't think the applicant has made its case for a hardship. The applicant contends that this sign, which is facing, I guess, north, is necessary to guide people to the side entrance, to the entrance of the building, which is on the side. If that were the case, the sign doesn't have to say Dollar General. It could say entrance, and it could be considered a location sign, and therefore would not be considered an additional sign that requires a variance. In fact, the applicant's sign says nothing about entrance. It simply says Dollar General. So to me, there is no justification for a hardship in this case, especially since the ordinance allows the kind of sign that they're talking about, but it has to be of a reasonable size and a reasonable location to show people, hey, enter here, this is the parking lot, and there's the door. So there is no hardship for this applicant, and I think what they're trying to do is to get a second sign despite the ordinance. My concern would be that if the board were to allow this as a hardship, then many other businesses in town would come in under the same concept, and we would have basically this board rewriting the ordinance as opposed to having the people rewrite it. The applicant also made some comments about comparable buildings or other commercial buildings in this area having more than one sign. I'm not sure of the facts, but a number of these signs were put up before this part of the ordinance was put into effect, so they may be grandfathered signs as opposed to signs that were granted under this ordinance. So, Mr. Chairman, we can go over the 5 points when the board goes over the 5 points of hardship. I hope they will take this into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Other boards? Any additional public at large wish to speak? Being none, if you wish to come up and rebut anything, amplify what you said before, or whatever, it's your opportunity.
Is there a square footage for entrance signs, or is it as big as you want it to be?
Very small.
A location sign? Is that covered at all
I
in
think
the
it's
ordinance?
2 by 6 square feet or something like that. I don't know. It's tiny comparison.
So, I mean, I guess, when were your bylaws revised? I mean, if I didn't look into it to see when all those other signs were approved.
Looks like amended 3/8/2011.
So the Dunkin' Donuts has been there for 11 years with all those signs on the wall?
Well, again,
I,
Sunel's got rebranded, new sign in the recent few years because Napa became principal supplier.
so,
Irving got upgraded because that got, I'm just saying, I don't have the exact dates.
and they came here and got variances since 2011?
My recollection, I'm not sure of the facts. I do know that that used to be a bank and they used to have their own sign.
What do you see the issue?
It very well may have
Additional
grandfathered
sign?
from their original sign. We don't know.
So
But the
they-
bottom line for me, is that's a good question, but two wrongs don't make a right.
No, I understand that. I mean,
Illuminated, there may be.
I do a lot of this.
Turn illuminated,
This is a
maybe
very
changeable or
restrictive
something.
bylaw.
this primary?
That's the way I read
You
it.
know, you're on your main drag. We're all surrounded by other people. It's not like someone's gonna take offense to, you know, this sign on the wall. Where
I think
where
it's
the
either or,
64
the way I
square
read
feet
it.
and one sign came from. As I mentioned, if you didn't have to count both sides of a freestanding sign, I would only have to come in, I would be allowed the square footage
It says
of
primary,
the
but it
sign.
doesn't say
And would just have
secondary.
to ask for one more sign.
One business.
So, I mean, we reduced the sign to 12 feet high, we're keeping the
may be
freestanding sign
one
within the bylaws in, you know, hopes and, you know, that we would get this additional wall sign.
Under the primary sign for a total of 48 square feet. So there is.
Yeah, that's if you put a, like, you know, changeable copy. You can have additional square feet for changeable copy.
We're not asking for that, are you?
No,
So technically, you are asking for a second sign. And if you add 48 plus 64, that's more than your 96 that you want, correct?
what's that?
Well,
The total,
64 and 20, 91.
64 and 32.
64, I'm sorry,
No,
32. That's 96, and you want what? 96?
we're allowed 64,
You're asking for a total of 96, correct?
28.02. Like I said, it depends how you, I don't know how you count your square footage on your wall signs, because it doesn't
Your
say it.
application asks for 96. Is that what you're asking for?
I'm asking for 92.02 square feet if you count the sign as a box.
Yes. Your total signage is what? What number?
92.02.
Thank you. The total signage on the lot is 32 plus 64, which is 96.
Right.
So,
It's a very restrictive bylaw. I've been doing this for 20 years. It's very restrictive. Normally, you're allowed 10% of a size of a wall
yeah, but
to get, you know, so I would be allowed, in a sense, 138 square feet to put on the side of that wall.
the way I read
you
this,
know. Okay.
You make a
Make sure I got it
compelling
right.
argument.
just want to make, let me just finish, please. If Mike and I read this correctly, we're allowed two signs, one on the pedestal, no more than 32, next one below it, no more than
16%.
64, no more than 32, correct?
Yeah.
So you don't want them both on the pedestal.
No.
You want to
We want
split
to
your
transfer
sign.
that and put it on the wall. Because I did read that, you know what I mean, and,
So by square footage, you're compliant.
correct.
By location,
I'm not.
right, okay, this is all subject to interpretation. I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're, I didn't expect you to come up with this, but since it's been brought up, we'll take a look at this and understand it. So,
Okay.
so the real question you're asking for, go back to us, 92 square feet and non-co-located signs on the pylon.
Right.
Okay. Have I read that correctly, Mike?
I think so.
Based on reasonable interpretation?
Yeah.
Okay, now we understand it. So,
You want me to sit?
you can speak again. You can continue to speak if you wish, or I just
I
wanted to
like the interpretation of the bylaws where I'm not going over the allowed square footage that you allow. But I am just asking for the relocation of some of that square footage to give us, you know, Dollar General on the side of the building. It's 2%, it's, you know, it's not offensive. It's gonna, it'll shut off the, you know, it's only facing a parking lot.
Hang on just a second, please.
Mhm.
You had a question. I want to make sure you get before she sits down.
That question has been answered more or less, but I do have one other question. Dollar General,
Yes.
who is that anyway? What's,
Well, I have it in my front of my letter.
Oh.
Would you like me to read it?
no, you don't have to. I guess it was more of a rhetorical question. Everybody knows who Dollar General is. So, for my place here, I wonder if you really need that much signage.
Everybody knows
Your reputation
Dunkin'
precedes
Donuts.
you.
I mean, you just see an orange and pink
That's
building.
again, two wrongs to me, and I don't wanna
I know,
argue with you.
I know, no, I don't
just-
want to argue either.
I'm in a position where we have two compelling arguments. And I'm more interested in maintaining the integrity of the ordinance than I am making an argument. So, I gotta say, and if you can come up with some other statement as to addressing the hardship, I'm all ears. But
I thought I had a good one until
Yeah.
somebody got up here, so, you know?
Do you have any more to say?
Well, I mean, like I said, if the doors were centered on the building, there you go, there's your entrance. You know, I don't know, I've done a lot of these. It is what it is. If you know, if I can't change your mind, then I can talk till I'm blue in the face, as they say.
Okay. Well, thank
And I'm getting a little blue under here, but,
you. Please have a seat.
all right, thank you.
Any approving of butters wish to speak? You have to say? No. Just approving of butters wish to speak? Public at large? Neil?
Thank you again, Jack. Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. The applicant really is concerned, or says that they're concerned about directing people to the parking lot and to the doors because they're not in the usual place. I'd like to point out to you the definition of signs on page 16 of the ordinance. Signs means any permanent or temporary display visible from a public way. So, if they need directional signs to take people from the parking lot to the building, they don't even have to come before this board. As long as they're not visible from the public way, they can put up as many and wherever they want. So, in terms of the directional argument, there is a provision to deal with that. The other thing is the interpretation of the ordinance in terms of the number of square feet. In a commercial district, this is 341032, there's one primary sign allowed, which is 64 square feet, 32 on each side, a 4x8 sheet of plywood. The provision for the extra 16 feet on each side, the 32 feet, is specifically for one purpose only, and that is to put up a letterboard. Because the folks in town, the businesses in town, when this ordinance was amended, were very concerned that they didn't want to put up these sandwich signs, which have letters on them. They wanted to be able to have letters on their sign. So the compromise that was worked out was, yes, you can put up roughly 2 feet by 8 foot, 16 square feet on each side, a letterboard sign, can be internally lit, but the letters could not be electronic. They have to be manually, like the town sign in front of the town hall. This was not designed to say, oh, you have 96 square feet, you can put it wherever you want in as many signs as you
We
want.
didn't say that.
No, no, no.
We're saying it has to be on the pedestal.
I thought I was not speaking to what the board said, I was speaking to what the applicant
I'm
seemed to say.
just saying, what we discussed was, there is allowable 2 signs. It doesn't say where the second one could be, but it assumes in the same paragraph it's on the same pedestal. Okay? And that's the way you're talking about the 32 feet, 16 on each side, internally lit letters. She's asking for that to be detached from that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into a debate, I'm just saying.
No, my point was that if the applicant's argument is that she's entitled to 96 square feet on on 2 signs, I think that's contrary to the ordinance, which is very specific. One sign with 64 feet, 32 on a side, plus, if the applicant wants it, without coming to the ZBA, 16 feet on each side for the purpose of putting up a movable letterboard sign,
Okay.
all on a single sign, a single pedestal.
What you're saying is they're not allowed to consolidate the square footage.
I'm not suggesting they are.
Right.
I'm just saying, I don't want to get into debating publicly what this thing means. You can have an opinion what it means,
Fair enough?
okay?
That's what I'm trying to get
But
at. what
I don't
the
want to
opinion
get this into a debate. I just want to make it clear that the zoning says one thing, other people are going to have different interpretations. Okay? I really don't want to get into an argument of what this means, because anybody who reads that has a different interpretation. Okay? Or can interpret it differently. I'm just saying, I don't want to cut you off, Neil, but you're welcome to continue and make your point.
I think I've made the point. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, public at large, finish it off. Any other discussion between the board members? At this point, I'm going to shut down the public hearing, and we can consider the 5 points of hardship. In doing so, I'd request a motion to accept prong 1.
I'll make a motion to accept prong 1.
Thank you,
I'll second.
thank you. Any discussion?
I,
I'm losing you on which one are you talking about?
Article 1,
Article 1, okay. You
prong
said
1,
Prong
prong 1.
throws me off.
You have something to
Okay,
say?
yeah.
So I have a personal opinion about the ordinance. I feel that it does, it's very restrictive, but with that, I also feel like, we're not in the business of necessarily, we can't just interpret the ordinances as we choose. I'm not sure that a hardship case has been made in this situation. The ordinance is pretty clear about where the sign should be, the secondary sign could be. Relocating it on the building, I don't think fits into that intent. So that's kind of where I stand right now. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts that might.
No more discussion. Well, this is not a
Isn't
minute.
that why we're here? To make an exception? For the
Yeah,
variance?
Absolutely, yeah,
You want to speak?
absolutely.
Good. I just
I
won't
said it.
cut you off.
I said it.
I just want to say, this is an administrative appeal to a decision made by the town. We can have a discussion of what that article means.
Right.
You can have your own opinions when you vote. We're not here to discuss what that article means. So, I just want to get that,
Fair enough.
my opinion, that's what we're here for. The request is to request a relaxation of the zoning, okay? For the purpose of still having the 64 square feet on the pedestal, but yet having one up on the north side of the parking lot. And that's what we're here for tonight. Not here to equivocate one thing or the other. So I look at this is a national brand. This is their trademark. And, I mean, if McDonald's was coming in, they'd have golden arches. If Target was here, they'd have the Target. And if Walmart was here, they have what they call the heuristic splat they have on them for theirs, a six-sided expanding. So, for as far as this one goes, contrary to the public interest is what we're talking here tonight for this particular one. I really don't think it's a big issue, to be honest with you.
So it says,
Public interest.
it must not alter essential character of the neighborhood. So,
Here's,
Okay,
have
well,
this
there's signs everywhere.
I
I mean,
short one.
yeah, if we're discussing, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, this is a, I don't know, I can't label it, but we have basically 5 articles to vote on.
We're doing individual,
Um,
yeah.
And what makes it, four and two other parts. What makes it sticky is that I find myself wanting to vote differently across that board. And I
You
think
can.
that's the most important thing to keep in mind, that
Yeah,
That's
you
that's
have
what
that
I
option.
pointed out here. On
Yep.
this one here, it must not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
And if we break that down, I don't think it would. mean,
Nor do
that
I.
particular portion, that
I'm
would
in,
be,
I'm in agreement.
you've
I
got,
don't think it would either.
you've got other buildings
Yep.
in that area. The part that I have issue with is, must not conflict with the
We'll
purpose
get
of the
there.
ordinance.
We'll get there.
And I feel that the intent of the ordinance to prevent excessive signage, not that this is necessarily excessive, but it strictly in terms of size and number, it seems to exceed 3410-2. Well, it obviously does, because we're here for a variance. That's the part I'm having thoughts about.
We'll get there.
Let's vote.
Any other discussion on prong one?
My personal take is I just don't think it's against the public interest. I'll leave it alone.
Well, we're gonna find out here.
In a second, so.
All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Nay, and
Aye.
aye. So 4-1. Number two?
Move to
Motion?
accept number 2.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, now for discussion. Please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
I don't see a conflict there myself
I
either.
don't either, to be honest with you. I think signs are allowed. Whether other ones have it or not, it's another issue for another day. But again, I go back, this is not a small commercial zone that's located in a residential. If it was a non-conforming lot, commercial, in a residential, because we designed the town ordinance around an existing town at the time which had mixed use all over the place.
So,
This is clearly a commercial, and I really don't think it's an issue.
I agree.
I can agree with that, but how the spirit of the ordinance is observed, what if the sign was of size?
If the what?
If the sign was within the square footage, how would that hurt the applicant? If it were smaller, that's all I'm asking.
A secondary
I think
sign,
you're
or?
skipping the article there. I think that's more
think you
apropos of
could-
the next.
Have your opinion, I don't know if that's, I don't know how we're gonna get arrive at a solution.
Well, it's the spirit of the ordinance, how
Spirit of the ordinance-
is it
the spirit of the ordinance
observed?
is to regulate signs. Each district has its own regulation.
I understand. I guess yep, very good.
So in this case, I would say, the spirit of the ordinance is to promote a character of the neighborhood, looking at the description of this article. And this may feel like I'm flip-flopping, but I'm not. I have
I
an intent here. The spirit of the ordinance is to maintain the character of Ware,
Yeah.
to maintain a small town feel. That particular area of town is full of commercial businesses with signs that are clearly larger than this. So in that case, I don't know, not to say how I'm gonna vote, but,
Okay. Let's see.
yeah.
Are we all set?
We're all
Anyone
set.
else?
All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
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 5-0. Okay.
Move to accept Article 3.
Second.
Says, please describe how substantial justice is done.
Here's where it gets sticky for me.
Okay?
Because saying
Oh, do we have a
substantial.
second?
Pardon?
Do we have a second?
Mark second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we did, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Saying substantial justice implies the opposite, substantial injustice. And with that comparison, I don't see any kind of substantial injustice here. And I also don't see any, I don't think the justice question is almost relevant here. I see no injustice. If,
Well, we don't get to vote. These are the 5 points of hardship that the RSA's dictate that we consider. So if you want to vote yes because it's not a big deal, if you want to vote no if it's not a big deal, I don't know.
Let's try it.
Getting into the article again, benefits to the applicant must not be outweighed by the harm to the general public. Once again, this is not the only business in that area that has signs larger than the ordinance typically allows. They're just, in my opinion, they'd be getting what the other businesses in that area have by granting the variance.
I can agree with that statement, although I don't feel the Dollar General would have a hard time drawing traffic into, because their sign was a few feet smaller. That's an opinion.
kind of where I'm coming from. I don't
Okay.
see any kind of justice issue here.
Want to see how we're doing?
Yeah,
Everybody else set?
Yep.
All those in favor? Mark?
No.
No? Gary?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay, it's 3-0.
3-2.
3-2, I'm sorry. 4, please describe how the values of surrounding properties are not diminished.
Move to accept Article 4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
second bet.
Discussion.
I don't see a problem with any property values in the area.
I would agree with that. I would say that this is completely in line with other commercial businesses right there in that stretch.
That area, that whole stretch on both sides of the road, on the east side of the road, it goes up to Granite State Telephone.
Yep.
And there are 2 existing non-conforming lots, uses, in the form of 2 residentials. One is on the corner of Kobe, the other one is just up the street, same size from Dollar General. I think it's the Brown House or whatever.
Yeah.
I
mean,
can't see
that
this
part is-
devaluating the commercial properties at all,
No.
and I think there's enough distance from the residentials that it's not on top of them.
Agreed.
Okay, Mark?
Oh.
Okay, all those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
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 Okay. Now the long-winded one. We want to take 5 in its entirety,
To accept Article 5 in its entirety.
I'll second.
okay? Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. That's the criteria, unnecessary hardship. And down below in II is it a reasonable use? That is the test we apply this evening. So, requiring the exact language from Article 34-10-3-2, would that create an unnecessary hardship of Dollar General, the applicant? And is the use they're asking for a reasonable one? Those are the 2 that's principally the conditions laid out here. So I just wanted to be clear. So when we vote, we should vote yes or no based on that. I mean, did I state the Article 5 correctly? I just want to
I
make sure.
would agree with
I
that.
want to be clear.
Yes.
We're here to make sure you vote yes if you believe, I guess you can have 4 different permutations, but if you believe it is an unnecessary hardship and you complying the zoning, and you think it's a reasonable use for what they're asking for, you vote yes. If you think it is not an unnecessary hardship, and it's not a reasonable use, you vote no. You can vote no if you 1 for 1 or 2 for 1, you know? So I'll lead off. Frankly, I think it's an unnecessary hardship in a commercial zone for an international corporation not to have what they're asking for a sign on the side. And I think it's a reasonable use. I think it's an unnecessary hardship not to allow them to do it.
I agree.
Well, you don't have to
I'm going
agree.
to have something to say on that.
I concur.
I'm a little bit iffy on this because we've combined it.
Yeah, it's a loaded question.
I would never argue against anybody telling me that this was a reasonable use. It is. It's a sign is a reasonable use. But that's not why they're here. They're here because of the size,
But
the
let me
square
just-
footage.
Let me just be clear. We're here to decide if what they're asking for is a reasonable use. Okay? What Dollar General is asking for, is that a reasonable use?
Or an unnecessary hardship.
Well, you could vote yes for one and no for the other. That's in
Right.
your own minds. We're not gonna take the vote that way. But the question here is, if you believe it's not an unnecessary hardship for Dollar General, and you believe it is not a reasonable use, you vote no.
I don't agree with how you're grouping that together, because it's leading, you're leading.
We're not gonna
And I
take
don't-
3
No
votes.
disrespect, I wanna finish myself here. Like I said before, a sign is a reasonable use. I'm not gonna argue against that. What we're here for is the size of the sign and the square footage of the sign. Sometimes it may be even the location of the sign. That is not a use issue. It's a dimensional issue. It's as if we want to grant a variance to grant somebody to encroach on a buffer zone or something to that effect. There are two separate issues here. And if I am to vote against this if I were going to say this is not a hardship, it would be based on the dimensions and the size of the sign. I would never vote against the reasonable use being a sign, because signs are reasonable. I'm almost done. I've seen lots of signs, I've seen lots of sizes, signs, locations of signs. These are separate issues. Signage is a reasonable use. But in this case, you're here because of the dimensions of the sign, and I can't see any kind of hardship there.
Let me just be very precise.
Yeah.
The reasonable use is the size of their sign, not the sign. Okay? That's what they're here for. We're not saying a sign is a reasonable use. We're saying their request for this size sign, is that a reasonable use? That's what on the table here. You may choose to interpret differently and you vote accordingly. I'm just saying, we're here for 2 reasons on Article 5. At least 2 reasons that I can enumerate. One is unnecessary hardship, it's right in the heading. And II here says, is it a reasonable use? You can decide whether it is or not. I'm not trying to tell you it is or it isn't. I'm just trying to say, that's what we're voting for. So if you believe extra location, number of signs, and the size of the sign is okay,
Yeah.
and it's a reasonable use, you could say, yeah. If you don't believe it, you can vote no. I don't know how I'd do any other way.
Well, this is kind of a perennial situation where we get confused on the use and confused on a dimensional issue. And if somebody wants to relax a line somewhere, it's not gonna change a use, it's not gonna make a use unreasonable, but they still need a variance because of the dimensional issue.
We're not arguing that.
Well, that's what this case seems to me to be, is they want a larger sign than what's permitted. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's a sign, it has everything to do with the fact that it's a oversized sign.
I agree with you 100%.
Have
I'm-
you ever
I'm
gone,
pretty
have you ever
much done, I
gone by
think.
a store and said, oh my God, that sign's too big? Oh my God. I don't
Right.
think you have.
Well, that's one way you look at it, and again, I'll have to go back to say the rhetorical thing. Do you really think that that there's gonna be any hardship? They're gonna lose business because their sign is compliant? They're not gonna lose anything. Everybody, their reputation precedes them. Whether their sign is oversized or undersized is irrelevant to what kind of business they're gonna do.
With the board's permission, I don't think we're adding more value to this conversation.
I agree.
I'd like to move on because the poor note taker's gonna be going crazy. So, and I'm not sure it would benefit. So, here again, we're gonna vote on Article 5. We're gonna call we're assuming we're done with discussion, which I believe we are. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Jack? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Thank you. 4-0.
Did I win?
You can stay.
She's gonna drive out. She's going to Worcester.
Well done.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck.
Do you want to stay in order, Jack, and the next one you'll
Yeah.
continue? Okay.
This is case number 03-2022 is Highland Farms and Forest Acquisitions owner. They're requesting, they have a letter in here, they're requesting a continuance till next month. And what does that look like?
March
March
1st,
1st.
28 days
Yeah,
of
that's right, so
February.
it's 28. I could have been wrong.
Once every 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So, motion on the table?
Move to continue case 03-2022 to the March 1st zoning board meeting.
Second that.
Very good. Discussion? Be none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, now we're into case number 04-2022. This is Donald and Tenley Welsh owner. And this is for lot 19, but its location is 150 on Branch Road. That's a Class 6 road. This is one we very rarely get, but it's under, it's allowed under RSA 674:33A. It's called an equitable waiver, and there's very distinct language what constitutes an equitable waiver for us to approve. They have filled out an application. There is a diagram, top-down diagram of the building. There is a, tell me where, you have, I given it. There's a cease and desist order on 12/27/2001. That's why regarding 150 Branch Road, New Hampshire. It's brought to attention you have built within the setbacks. Property owner letter affidavit is Tenley Welsh. And it's allowing Jacques Belanger. Very good. Now, there's a survey done by,
Jock
You.
Belanger.
okay? And by the way, just so everybody knows, it's a survey as stamped and signed. So, warranty deed included. I guess it's a $100 check. What was that for?
Fees.
Oh.
I don't know what you got.
Very
but
rarely
that's
get those. There's a
No.
building permit, original building permit, and it was signed, I don't have a date, but unless it's encoded in that building permit number. So what exists, 728, sorry. Inspection points, is this what's required? Okay, here we go. Footing, prior to, this is an inspection notice piece of paper for the building permit. Prior to placement of concrete for verification of the depth, certified plot plan is needed at the time. certified New Hampshire RLS, registered land surveyor. Plot plan shall be required for all structures at this point of the footing. No construction will be allowed after the footings were poured until a plot plan is submitted to the building department. There is a existing, I guess this is the before, as it was before you started construction.
I think the tax card shows, yeah, because it hasn't been picked up yet.
Okay, just making sure. There is a letter here from Romy, our building inspector. I read, note, attention zoning board of adjustments, 150 Branch Road, tax map and lot 106-09, case number 304-2022, which I guess is the building permit. The only inspection that was performed at this property was footing inspection. There is no foundation or frame inspections performed. As this states of the building permit process, inspection points, number one, no construction will be allowed after the footings are poured until the plot plan is submitted to the building department. The owner did sign a building permit document stating he understood the required, he signed the paper on inspections. I was not contacted to any of the inspections past the footing as required. Oh. The butters list. And I guess it's the what's this? I've never seen this one before.
Let's see about his notice. They gave you everything that I had in the folder.
Oh, you sent it out, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to accept case 04-22, 2022.
Move to accept case 0422.
Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the application? As far as the application itself, the quantity, the quality of the application?
Yes, sir.
Being none, all those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Gary? Jack? Aye?
Aye.
Aye and aye, right?
Yep.
Okay. 5-0. Mr. Belanger?
Well, thank you for hearing us tonight. I'm Jacques Belanger. I'm the surveyor that helped prepare the application for the Welches. We're before you with a equitable waiver, and I don't think I've ever done one either in about 30 years. So we're gonna kind of stumble through a little bit. But what the way it was presented to me is I was called in December to come out and do a certify the foundation location for the
Did your
Welches.
client ask for that?
Yes, yes. And I think what it comes down to is he did sign the building permit, he did get a shoreline permit, he thought he was in the right order. And I know Romeo did a footing inspection, that's where it kind of stopped. My client at that point didn't, according to what I'm being told, didn't realize he needed the next inspection to get the footings inspected before they could do the
So-
walls.
So, just so I get it straight, Romy did the footing inspection,
He looked at it, yes.
saying
Yeah.
it's a footing,
Yes.
but he didn't certify where it was.
No.
He was waiting for somebody like yourself to document the footing location,
Correct.
and then get that approved to go before the.
Before they moved on.
construct any- okay,
Right.
I see.
The homeowner was acting, I believe, as his own GC, you know, we all do stuff ourselves. And I don't think he realized just how close he was. There's a couple fences out there they're meandered off the lot line. And I honestly just don't think he realized he needed to do this cert plan, even though it's on the building permit. I did talk to Romeo a couple weeks back, a little bit about this. And I think when he was out there, the foundation crew was there, and the homeowner wasn't. And that's the way he explained it to me. Then from there, I think it was December or so, when Tenley happened to be in the town office. I don't know if it was Romeo had asked her about the project or what. And that's when they realized that they needed to get the certified plot plan. They called me, and I think we were out a couple days before Christmas and then pulled it together and realized there was an issue. And that's where we are.
So that's the smoking gun, okay.
That's it. I mean, at that point, I think they were getting ready to call Romeo for the next inspection, the rough-in, its foundation's in, backfilled, I think it's framed and weather tight. So,
Okay.
One question, the plot plan, has it gone before the planning board?
I don't believe it has to go for planning board review.
Just has to be, in other words, Romeo doesn't have a perfect tape, you know, because he doesn't know what the boundary is.
Right.
So certified plot plans are required to document where the actual footing is. That was never done in the sequence it's supposed to be done. It was intended to be done after, right?
As soon as the footings are in, or
You
done.
actually have one done? You
Yeah.
have a certified plot plan? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Walking down through all the stuff. So,
Does that have to follow that process though and go to the planning board?
well, if, it's okay, I guess, if you don't, nobody gets a black eye, but because nobody checked, they're over the line.
Okay.
They're in violation of the setback.
So it's moot at this point, whether or not they went.
But it doesn't have to go to the planning board.
Yeah.
If it's a conforming situation, they just need a certified plot plan to satisfy Romeo's next step in his process.
Understood,
Building inspector.
So, since we don't do this very often, I'll just point out that if you look at 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is additional language like or, if you meet this, you grant it. So,
I think a couple of the points with equitable waiver is that it was unintentional. An error was made, or it's gone through a certain span of time. I think it's 7 years or 10 years without being recognized as an
if
issue.
this is a no, we wouldn't be here. It's a yes, that's why we're here. Okay, it is a dimensional requirement, that's the only way you can do an equitable waiver. Then it says, explain how, you know, I won't read it, but would you read the question 1 and answer it?
Sure thing.
Question 2, answer it, please.
Does the request involve a dimensional requirement, not a use restriction? Yes. Then we have number 2 is explain how the violation has existed for 10 years or more with no enforcement action, including written notice being commenced by the town, or explain how the nonconformity was discovered after the structure was substantially completed or after a vacant lot in violation had been transferred to a bona fide purchaser. Our answer for this was the nonconformity was not discovered until well after the footing foundation was poured for the addition. The owner did not realize that a certified plot plan was required after the footings were poured. It was discovered to non-conform after the structure was framed and ready for town inspection and surveyed. And how the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or bad faith, but resulted from a legitimate mistake. Prior to construction, the owner applied and received a shoreland permit by the state of New Hampshire DES. Permit number 2021-00752 in March of 2021. After applying for and receiving a building permit, the construction of footings, foundation, and framing was performed. The owner did not realize that a certified plot plan was required by the town for the footing. It was after the owner requested inspection by the building department of the enclosed addition that the CPP was needed. This was a legitimate mistake and not a result of bad faith. Number 3, how the nonconformity does not constitute a nuisance nor diminish the value or interfere with future uses of other property in the area. The constructed addition is very consistent with surrounding properties and will not decrease the values of the properties. If anything, it should increase the value of the surrounding properties. There is an existing hemlock hedge along the property line involved, which acts as a slight buffer. Abutters have not shown any disapproval of the existing addition. Number 4, explain how the cost of correction far outweighs any public benefit to be gained. The cost of the honest mistake would outweigh any public gain benefits. It would be costly to correct this error, which might result in not completing the addition by the owner, which would cause other properties to diminish in value. Now, we do have, and I neglected to bring it, I printed it and left it on my desk, is a letter from the abutter saying they had no issue with the addition. I can pull it up on my phone, but it's the best I can do right now.
So, any questions of the applicant? Because this is a simple up and down vote.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
I don't.
No question.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, a train wreck is always hard to describe, but we kind of know what happened. Okay, please have a seat. Any approving of butters wish to speak? Any disapproving of butters, I have to say this, want to speak? Public at large or the boards? Does anything you'd like to say again, or you'd like to rebut? If there wasn't anything?
I think we're almost set, thank you.
Thank you.
Romeo, can I just add, Romeo and I talked the other day, and if you look at what he's proposed here and the tax card, the old 2 decks that were removed were actually 19 feet, so they were very, very much into the setback, which was done years ago, but both of these decks are removed and they're 12 feet. So.
Saying this is more compliant? or less
This is, I think it's more compliant both ways, not, I mean, to the street, he doesn't have a problem, but it's in the same line.
Mhm.
And if you took the calculation, and it's probably the same here.
Okay, thank you. All right, what was I? Approving of butters wish to speak, disapproving of butters wish to speak. Public at large other boards, I see none. At this point, so I'm gonna shut down the public hearing. At this point, I request a motion in the affirmative for
Grant.
case 04-2022.
Move to grant,
Move to,
grant the variable,
thank you.
yeah.
Equitable
Variable
Yeah.
mouthful.
I'll second.
Just so I'm clear, it's an equitable waiver, right?
Yes.
Equitable waiver, yes.
Okay, second made. Any discussion?
Do you have to, I'm just asking, do you have to put the dimensions on here or no?
They're on the plot plan.
Matter of record.
I would say, why don't we just, good point. Let's be more clear. Per the certified plot plan.
Okay.
Who made the motion? You accept the change?
Yes, sir. I did.
Who made the second?
I did
You accept the change?
with the, yeah. as
Do you have a
discussed.
number on that plot plan or whatever it is?
No, there isn't one.
It's,
It's,
this is tax map. See, that's why I didn't
got a
see.
date on it
Well,
above his signature block.
I'll do it this way.
22 December.
Yeah, this is the J.E. Belanger Land Surveyors PLLC drawing 101, which is a plot plan. And it is signed by the surveyor, stamp 758, and it's dated December 22nd, 2021. Thank you. We okay? Thank you. Okay. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye. 5-0. Thank you. Good evening.
Would you like me to send that letter over from the butter, so you have it?
You can, we can put it in the file,
Yeah.
just for future reference, sure.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Chuck.
Okay, we got 2 minutes to do.
Yeah, the only reason I wanted to do the December 7th minutes, because I just brought the plan on that, you'd asked me to fix something on the Bovair one. I just want you to look at that and
did
tell
I
me what you
fix on the
want.
Boulder one? Oh, yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable doing it myself,
So you asked me what I wanted you to fix?
So on page 3 of the December 7th minutes, it says Chairman Dearborn clarified the total disturbed area is,
Yeah, the
We
problem
have-
was, I cited the 352, what the hell is that now? 752 on the roadside,
yeah,
and you said there's some more 1110 on the other side. So if I do my math correctly, being in high school here, so the total impacted is 1862. square feet.
So that's what I'll put in the
Yeah,
minutes.
that's, because I remember when I read it, it was
Yep.
752, I said, there's another number we missed.
No, so that's the only correction you'd ask me, but I wanted you to look
Okay.
at it too. Everything else you're all set with except for the square footage.
Okay, minutes.
I think we've read through those except for that. Do you want to just make a motion? Do you want to do that now, or?
Sure. Make a motion for what? December 7th?
December 7th.
Good, let's do it.
Move to accept December 7th, 2021 ZBA minutes as amended.
Thank you. Second.
Second that.
Thank you. Everybody had a chance to scan this? See if my name's spelled correctly.
Mine is in a couple places, but whatever. I don't care.
Twice there, huh? I'll do that. Any other questions, any other issues?
Yep.
No more discussion?
No.
All
All
set,
set.
Hoffman?
Nothing.
All set?
Yep.
Good, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Mark, Gary, me, Jack. The,
January 4th.
this was fast, as I remember.
Yeah, we only did one hearing and then sent them home.
This is the ADU, right?
Yes. Not the ADU, it's a duplex. Duplex on Pondview. Oh no, you're right, the ADU, sorry.
Right.
It's been
I
a
just
long
read
day.
ADU.
Yeah.
That'd be a big mistake if it wasn't there.
No, you're right, this is one on Colby Road.
My thoughts exactly.
You guys okay?
Yeah.
Move to accept January 4th, 2022 minutes.
Thank you. Second?
Sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion? Being none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Tell Karen she did an excellent job.
aye. I was just gonna say that.
Thank you. She does do a nice job.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're done. Thank you all.